Alright. Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and this is your weekly Zer loot and location PSA. He's located on the Winding Cove in his one of three locations. Now let's go ahead and start off by looking at his exotics. He's got the Tractor Cannon, which is one of the best exotics, of course, for debuffing enemies inside PvE. It's also pretty fun to use in PvP. Most of you already have it by now, though, so we'll move on to the next. Dragon Shadow is an A tier or potentially an S tier exotic for your hunter, depending on how much you like this exotic. You like moving around quite a bit. You dodge, it reloads your gun, and buffs your speed and handling. A lot of hunters love using this, especially after Stompy's got nerfed, so I imagine this is very, very prevalent in the current PvP sandbox. A high mobility, high resilience role with low recovery. Probably not as good in PvP though, so we'll move on to the next one. Lion Rampant is a really good exotic for your Titans, especially for flying around. I know a lot of Titans love using this. This used to be a lot of fun to use back in the day with the DMT, of course, with airborne effectiveness penalties and everything now. Not quite as much, but it's still extremely good in PvE. And this is a decent roll, 62 stats with high resilience. It's a decent PvE roll. Next up, we'll talk about Controverse Hold, which is probably the best exotic, the one that I always use when I'm using Voidwalker inside PvE. This role has a little high mobility, which is unnecessary, and the discipline is only 12, so that's a little bit unfortunate. 8 recovery, also unfortunate, but it's not the worst role overall, and is definitely one of the better exotics for Warlock, especially if you're using Voidwalker in PvE. Chroma Rush, these 720 auto rifles go burr, and they are amazing. This roll right here, unfortunately, it's just a decent roll. I mean, the dynamic sway is going to feel really nice on it, but besides that, it's nothing to squawk over. The Cold Denial right here, 340, Head Seeker and Zen Moment is a pretty average roll of a 340. You can get a lot better rolls than that out there. The Enigma's Draw, I don't like the 260 archetype of sidearms. I think they're very tough to use. A rangefinder roll with Farpoint, though, it's going to have some decent range on it. Next up, we got the Fractithis, we got Ensemble and Trench Barrow. We can definitely pass on this bad boy. No use of that in PvP or PvE, in my opinion. Then we've got Distant Tumulus with Quick Draw and Pulse Monitor. I'm going to pass on this one. Definitely don't need that. And Shattered Cipher. The 900 RPM machine guns are kind of the craziest to use. They just sort of spray bullets. Adrenaline Junkie and Field Prep is not a god roll by any means anyways, so hard pass on that one. And the Royal Entry does have some really good rolls, but unfortunately this is not it with Thresh and Genesis. That is a no-go for sure. Let's go through the armor real quick. We've got a 56 stat roll gauntlet, so we're going to pass on that right away. 56 a little too low. We've got a really high recovery, really high intellect chest piece. Usually the stat distribution I'm looking for is high resilience and high recovery for PvE, and then as much discipline as I can get. And then for Hunter, it changes a little bit because mobility is actually nice. So I'm going to skip on the intellect roll, but it's not a bad roll if you want a high intellect build. A really high resilience helmet with good discipline. This is an excellent helmet for your hunter inside PvE. And then we have the boots right here, 59, so we'll pass on those. I'm going to pull up the window here so we can see the armor on the Titan. For the Titan, we've got 63 stat gauntlets with a little too high mobility, but not the worst, maybe an average roll, I'd say. And then we've got high recovery, high discipline, chest piece with 61 stats. A decent chest piece, maybe a little too much mobility and maybe a little low on the stats with just 61, but not the worst ever, especially you can just go grab it. The helmet has way too much mobility, we'll pass on that. And the boots have way too low discipline and a little too much mobility, so we'll pass on those. Those are pretty average. Warlock armor, we got the gauntlet. Way too much mobility, don't need that. Same thing with the chest piece, we can pass on that. This is a crazy helmet, 24 mobility, what on earth? And then another high mobility piece, so if you're going for some crazy high mobility Warlock build, which I don't understand why you'd want that, but you could have it, it's all there for you, the entire set. We got a Hawk Moon here with Snapshot, we got Textured Grip, and we got Arrowhead Break, unfortunate, but not the worst roll ever. It's got pretty high handling and Snapshot. And then we've got a Dead Man's Tail with Moving Target, which is a decent perk on it. I would say Vorpal's the better. Hammerforge, not too bad. Fitted Stock is unfortunate, though. We don't want to decrease that handling speed, so an average roll on both of those. And that's a wrap for this Zer PSA. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed. Smash the like button. I'll see you in the next one. Later.